Taylor, let me start with you. As you analyze these meme stocks, whether it's AMC or GameStop or whatever, what is your conclusion on them? Are they what's going on here? Is this just a hysteria?
Well, I think part of it is driven by hysteria, or I guess you could say excitement, is very much a mob mentality where they're approaching these companies as kind of almost a game, right? Where you're kind of trying to rally the troops, right? And manipulate the price in some way, or hype the company in some way, make a case for the company in some way. Which can be dangerous, because I think people are, a lot more likely to engage in risky behavior when there's peer pressure around.
And Mike, when Adam Aron says to shareholders in a notice, hey, look, you better not be in this stock if you're of a squeamish sort, because you may go to zero here. You don't hear that very often from CEOs, except occasionally in, I guess, some filings where they're almost obligated to say such things.
Well, and even in this case, I do think it's a kind of a legalistic, let's cover our backs a little bit on this.
Right.
But also recognizing that selling 11 million shares into a market right now that's in this kind of a froth, that's traded 1 billion shares in 2 days of this particular stock, it was not going to matter what they said about it. They were just going to be able to feed it out. And if they had to take a $10 discount to what it traded at yesterday, so what? It still kind of found money. So I do think that there's a sort of a corporate calculation going on, an opportunism, realizing that we might as well just take what the market's going to give us for now. And really, to Taylor's point, I mean, it's always been the case that there's an element of rooting interest. There's an element of being part of something big going on right now in the markets. I remember when online quotes became a thing for the first time, and you can actually watch the stocks move, and you can actually get a piece of it and do in the message board chats. I think this is a bit of an accelerated version of all those things, and it's not necessarily new. That basically stories drive stocks in the short term. What's new is the scale of it and the amount of attention on it.
Mike, I'm also curious. I was reflecting on this a little bit, and I wonder what your take would be. A lot of this to me also feels like really fundamental cases being made for stocks, but just disseminated in a different way. When you read the case for why BlackBerry is an undervalued cyber security company combined with a platform for the smart car, you think, okay, that's the kind of thing I might have in the past heard at a Best Ideas conference. Now it's being written about on Medium, tweeted about, and it's available for the public. You don't have to go through the usual channels to get these ideas out there. Is that one aspect, just one aspect, but one aspect of what's going on this year?
It's a strand of what's happening, yes. This idea that that value bubbles up from below and not doesn't come top down all the time. I really would hesitate to apply that same thing to AMC. Even in the before times, before Disney Plus, before HBO Max, and before the pandemic, it was not a great business. It was a low return business. It was considered to be a melting ice cube. And right now what's happening is just kind of, let's be part of the fun. We love movies. We have nostalgia about this company and the brand, and it's working. So let's keep doing it. I actually think if people consider it play money, what's the big deal? If it was otherwise going to go to DraftKings, this is no worse.
Taylor, let me read a tweet that kind of, I think, summarizes the sentiment and the concern a lot of people have about whether retail traders are kind of triumphing here or getting played. As one observer says, this is a bunch of hedge funds using social media to create a frenzy, subpoena all trading records of every hedge fund involved. And I've heard this more and more from friends and neighbors who say, why isn't the SEC involved in this? How can they let this go on? I mean, in Hertz, they intervened last year because the company had declared bankruptcy, but ultimately the people who were long Hertz at the time made money to this day, despite the SEC's advising against that. So this idea of who needs to be protected from whom, is it possible that something's going to blow up in the weeks and months ahead? People are going to point the fingers at hedge funds and say to regulators, you should have done more to keep this from hurting people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that unfortunately, these big financial companies, they do sort of win at the end. I mean, they're operating from a very savvy standpoint, whereas I think a lot of, these retail traders might, they might not have the backing of this hedge funds, behind us. So I think, I mean, people always like to say, the hedge funds are kind of playing, or at least on Wall Street Bets, right? They're very much like, well, the hedge funds are playing the market, or they're playing God with these stocks. But to some extent, it's true. I mean, they still do have a ton of power in the market, but I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracies that go around about that stuff too.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.